NFL Talk with Elite Wages.
Yo! What's happening, everyone? This is another episode of NFL Talk with Elite Wages. This is obviously the breakdown for NFL Week 8, and I don't know if you can tell the vibes are a little bit higher this week. It's always better to do a recap when the numbers are in green rather than red, and we've had a couple of green weeks in a row now, 3 weeks in a row for profit. This one was, I think it was my highest total in terms of profit so far this season. And we're just adding up, we're stacking it up now, and we're going to roll into week 9 for Thursday Night Football in this episode as well. But let's get into the recap for NFL Week 8. A good week. Started off with Thursday Night Football, 2 plays in Thursday Night Football. I had the Vikings -3, which didn't cash, and I had Matt Stafford over his passing yards, which did cash. So that was a pretty much tit for tat. I think that was a minus 0.1 unit loss. And for some reason, I actually haven't got a breakdown for that. I must have skipped over that by accident, but I've still got to recap it. So we're at 1-on-1 on Thursday Night Football for minus 0.1 unit. Going into the Sunday slate, however, we had a lot of good plays. The first play, possibly one of my favourites of the week, actually lost, and it was the Packers -4. And this was a sickening one. Packers, they handled themselves well throughout the game. A few good things to look at in this game. Xavier McKinney had another interception. He's got 6 now. Obviously leads the leagues in interceptions. He's been a great pickup for the Packers. Josh Jacobs running in 2 touchdowns. Obviously another good, strong point for the Packers heading into the season. He was obviously meant to be a good acquisition after trading away Aaron Jones. And they led from start to finish, which is again another good thing. Handled their business. Jaguars tied it with 2 minutes to go, and then the Packers kicked a walk-off field goal to get the win, and they actually won by 3, so they couldn't get that -4 cover. So this was a tough one. They were leading all the way throughout the game. They were up by 10 at one point as well, so they had the opportunities. Jordan Love did leave the game for a groin injury. Malik Willis came in, and he obviously showed some nice passes as well. So he's been a good backup pickup for us so far. He's been used a little bit more than we would have liked. But yeah, so we take the loss on this one by 1 point. How close is that? The next one, it was another game which I was certain was going to win. I was actually certain the Bengals would take it, but they got humbled, and they actually lost by 20 to the Eagles. Jalen Hurts ran in 3 touchdowns. Honestly, didn't expect the Eagles to play as well as they did, considering they've struggled against almost everyone they've played, and the Bengals have actually played really, really good against a lot of teams. Bengals couldn't get going in this game, and a disappointing loss. But watching the game, you can obviously see why the Eagles are winning this by 20. They're actually a really, really good team. So got to keep an eye on both of these teams throughout the season. Next play, this is a string of a little win streak throughout Sunday. Actually starts in Detroit, and it was Detroit team total over 27.5. That was probably the freest bet of the week, maybe even of the season. The Lions put up a season high 52 points. They had this bet cashed in the first half, so sweat free. Was able to sit back and relax and watch the end of this game. They've actually now scored 30 plus points in 4 straight games. They average 43 points per game. The Lions were able to cash in on 3 defensive plays. They scored 2 touchdowns from interceptions off Will Levis, and they scored a touchdown from a fumble recovery. They also had a punt return touchdown as well. So, if you add up those 4 touchdowns there, that's the bet cashed already without even playing offense. I don't know what the line is yet for next week, but I'm already thinking about taking the Lions team total over against the Packers. I'm going to drop a little hint at the end of this episode. I've got a play in that game. I've got 2 plays in that game actually that I've locked in. I'm going to share them at the end of this episode to get the lines in, just in case Jordan Love is out. The lines and things are going to change. So keep an ear out for that one. But we'll roll into the next one on the recap, and that is the the Buffalo Bills against the Seattle Seahawks, and that was over 493.5 passing yards in this game. I said last week this one was going to be a punt. It was going to be a close one. I also said the Bucs had this line right on the money. Allen and Smith's average pass yards combined added up to 494, which is just 0.5 over this total. So it was a punt. It did indeed get sweaty. Josh Allen actually finished the game with 283 and Smith finished with 212. And if you're good at maths, you can work out pretty quickly that adds up to 495. So it actually means we won this bet by 1.5 yards, so you cannot get much closer. So I said it was going to be right on the money, and it was a sweaty one, but we actually got the cash in this one, which is a good one to get. But 1.5, they could have done it, they could have at least given us 10 yards. I would have been a little bit more comfortable watching this game. But we roll into the next one. This was the Kansas City against the Raiders game. This one didn't actually go the way I predicted at all, so I split the plays in this game 1-1. I had 2 in this game, went 1-1. I was correct in half of my prediction in this game. I expected the Chiefs to come out firing in this game after the whole Kermit the Frog insult towards Patrick Mahomes from the Raiders in preseason, and he did indeed come out firing. They scored a touchdown on their opening drive, not on their first drive, which obviously won the race to 6 points, which is my first bet for this game. The game, however, wasn't a blowout many expected. The Raiders hung around as the Chiefs won by 7, so the Raiders played a really nice game even though they lost. This meant the run game couldn't be used as much as I'd have liked, and obviously Kareem Hunt fell short. He was the fall guy for this one. He fell short of his 68 rushing yards, just by 9. Wasn't far away. Not mad about that one. I should have expected the Chiefs would have done something to blow my bet anyway. I've said this last week. I'm going to say it every day, every week, in every episode. The Chiefs are the worst undefeated team we've seen. They're very, very mid. They're mediocre. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes is doing so well with so little," but he's actually not. They're just getting some really, really lucky results. And I think it's six games now they've won within 1 score. So teams can actually play against the Chiefs, and they can actually score points on the Chiefs. They can keep it close as well. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a big shocking loss soon. Next one. These two were my favourite bets of the week, I think, actually. I said the Packers was, but these two I really, really enjoyed. I got a double cash in the Texans game. Another close game between the Texans and the Colts. But the Texans leading a lot of the game, and obviously the game being quite close, it meant the run game was on from start to finish. Joe Mixon, I had him for over 76.5 rushing yards, and I also had him for 100 rushing yards, and he cashed both. So Mixon total 25 carries, 102 rushing yards, and he cashed us out on both of those plays. So we had this is my good run of form heading into Monday Night Football, which we also got another win as well. So I think we're actually 4 in a row on Monday Night Football bets as well. So that's a good little run of form. But there's nothing better than ending the week with a winner. Pretty much it went exactly how I wrote it up last week. The Steelers did the majority of the scoring. The Giants managed to put up some points of their own, and it kept it quite interesting too. The bet was cashed early in the 4th quarter, but the end of that game was absolutely crazy. The Steelers fumbled. Giants get the ball back. The Giants fumbled. The Steelers get the ball back. The Steelers end up punting, give the Giants the ball back, and then the Giants threw an interception. So that was the last 4 plays in that game. So either team could have scored more points in the last 5 minutes if this game would have gone any other direction. If interception could have been picked up for a pick 6, or they could have cashed in on some points, a field goal, anything like that. So I don't think the over was any doubt in this game. It would have made it very interesting in terms of the result, but we didn't need it. We had the over, we cashed it, so we hit 3 profitable weeks in a row. So we actually went 7-4 in total for plus 2.54 units, which is a good one. Probably my highest profit margin so far this season. 3 profitable weeks in a row. Just going to touch on my fantasy recap real quick as well, because I've been fire in these selections, even if I do have to say so myself. I had Joe Mixon as my captain, so obviously, like I said, 102 rushing yards. He had 1 touchdown, 4 receptions, 32 receiving yards. He totaled 23.4. Obviously, he's the captain, so double it. That meant he finished with 46.8 points, which is, another high total. I'll just go back actually, and I'm going to list off some of my fantasy selections in the last few weeks to start the season. Anyway, so I've actually had where is it? So I actually had obviously Mixon 46.8, Saquon Barkley 53.4, Alvin Kamara 34.8, Jamar Chase 80.2, J.K. Dobbins 40.9, Joe Mixon again in week 1 53.6. So I've hit 40 plus in 5 out of 8 weeks so far. So if you're not in fantasy, actually it's a good time to get into it. It's really, really fun to use. Get on Fantasy Game Day app, use code ELITE, you get a free entry, and all you got to do is listen to the podcast, and you'll get my tips, who are clearly fire. Getting around 40 points per week minimum. Obviously I do a value pick as well. Last week's value pick was absolutely terrible. It was Yoshivas, and he was targeted 3 times, but couldn't get any receptions, so he finished with no points. But hopefully anyone that did tail had Joe Mixon, and that they were able to cash on that.
Thursday Night Football.
Yep, so let's get into the start of NFL Week 9. We've got Thursday Night Football. This one is the New York Jets against the Houston Texans. So the past few weeks we've actually had some decent games on a Thursday. This week is obviously no exception. So we've actually got a potential AFC Championship contender in the 6-2 Texans, and we've got a team that was supposed to be an AFC Championship contender in the 2-6 New York Jets. So we got potential contenders and potential pretenders, if you want to put it that way. The Jets, they've been absolutely disastrous this season. Getting Aaron Rodgers back, signing Hassan Reddick in the off-season, trading for Devontae Adams. They were all meant to be really, really good boosts to this team, and none of those things have actually worked out so far. In fact, Hassan Reddick, he was actually able to take to the field this week. He had a contract holdout. He was back this week, resolved, and he actually didn't influence this game at all. I didn't actually watch the Jets game, but I'm not actually sure how long he played for. But all I know is he had absolutely no stats in that game, not a single tackle. So I don't know if that was due to sort of time management or a bit of conditioning or anything like that, just getting him out there in a Jets uniform. But yeah, he didn't do anything in this game. I'm not sure the reason why, but overall the Jets, they didn't play too badly in that game. A nice game from Aaron Rodgers. Breece Hall had a nice game. Garrett Wilson had a nice game, but ultimately they just weren't good enough. They lost to a Drake May-less Patriots. Drake May went down injured. Jacoby Brissett stepped up, made some big time throws, made some big plays, and actually set up Stevenson to run in 2 touchdowns on the day. I actually saw a really, really crazy stat in this game. So the Jets scored 20 plus points. They committed 0 turnovers, and they held their opponent to 250 yards of offense. From 1940 until this Sunday just gone, teams were 756 to none when they hit those 3 metrics. So no one had lost in 756 games when having 20 points, no turnovers, holding the opposition team to 250, and they lose to the New England Patriots 25 to 22. So I thought that was a really, really crazy start of they just blew it. The Jets have now lost 5 in a row. They were supposed to be a top defense heading into the season. They've now allowed 4 straight teams 23 points or more, one of those being a bottom 3 offense, New England. And they also allowed the Steelers 37 points, and they're definitely not known for their offensive prowess. The Jets themselves haven't been good offensively. They rank as the 8th worst team for points per game. They average just 18 points per game, and they have the 9th lowest total yardage per game, totaling 310. So the they'll obviously now face one of the favourites to knock off the Chiefs as champions, and that is going to be the Houston Texans. The Texans, they're yet to really show who they are, in my opinion. That they haven't really shown their potential, their capability. What they have been doing, however, is just getting things done. They've been grinding out wins. They're a very gritty team. In my opinion, they seem to have a little bit of a problem of reaching their full capacity. They're obviously 6-2 and they've won 4 of the last 5, but I feel like they've got a little bit of a problem trying to figure out their run to pass ratio. They can either get the run game going or the pass game going. They can't sort of coincide with both, and I think that's a bit, I wouldn't say it's a problem. They've obviously worked it out to be able to get wins and things like that, but I think once they get that thing sorted out, they will be significantly better in this league. Potentially unstoppable. But the Texans, they've scored 22 or more in 5 straight games. Obviously, I just said about the Jets allowing 23 points or more in 5 straight games. So the Texans are scoring 22 points or more in 5 straight games. They average 24 in that span. CJ Stroud, he's been able to throw the ball fairly nicely. He got a 66% pass completion, but he has struggled to throw multiple touchdowns this season. The only multiple touchdown games, he's actually only had 3 out of his 8 games this season. So it's actually a good job. The run game has been a solid option for touchdowns for them. The running backs and wide receivers, they've actually accounted for 11 touchdowns. Whether that's mixing on the ground or mixing through the air, or a wide receiver running, having a rush play, they've actually scored 11 touchdowns, and CJ Stroud has only thrown for 11. Their running back room is led by Joe Mixon. He's averaging 100 yards per game, a touchdown per game. That's in his 5 appearances. Both of these teams are ranking similarly in most categories. The Houston pass game is ranked the 5th. It's ranked 5th, 5 places higher than the Jets. The Houston run game is quite a few places higher. The Jets are ranked in 30th for rush yards per game. But in terms of turnovers and things like that, keeping the offense moving, they're both very similar in that aspect too. They're both able to keep turnovers to a minimal. Although Aaron Rodgers, he's thrown 6 interceptions in his last 4 games, where CJ Stroud has actually only thrown 4 all season. It's actually another game I don't think should be overthought. Like I said, offenses are pretty similar, defenses are pretty similar, but the big difference is the Texans are winning games, and they're actually playing a lot better than the Jets are, even though they're not to their full capability and capacity yet. The Jets are a slim 2-point favourites, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not really sure why. Obviously the Jets they're obviously due a win. They're due a good run of form and results. They've added all these players and things like that. They've just added Uche, I think his name is, from the Patriots as well. So they're actually going for... No, they haven't. Sorry, he's gone to the Chiefs. That's my bad, reading the wrong thing. But, they've added these pieces. Hassan Reddick back, hoping that he can influence the game. Devontae Adams, hoping they can boost the pass game. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, to boost the pass game. Breece Hall is an absolute baller. So they've added all these things to try and get a good run of form and results, and it just hasn't happened yet. But I simply just think the Texans are a lot better team. I think they've been playing really well together so far this season. Offensively and defensively, they've been doing what it takes to win games against tricky opponents, and the Jets have actually struggled against almost every opponent they've played. I'm actually happy enough to take the Jets money line at plus money, especially when I had this more of a -3 Texans spread a few weeks ago. So we're going to go 1 unit for Texans money line at odds of 2.15. But we're not done. We're not done. It's Thursday night football. It's going to be rude not to throw out another play. So I've got another bet for this game. It's going to be a fairly simple one. I've mentioned, obviously, their best option, should we say, best option for a touchdown, and that is Joe Mixon. So As I mentioned, he's averaging 100 rushing yards per game, a touchdown per game. He's averaging 25 carries per game, which has shown how much the Texans like to use him. Mixon is often used in the red zone too. He's actually had a total of 21 touches inside the 20. He's converted 23% of those into a touchdown. And if we go a little bit deeper into that, he's got 11 touches inside the 10. He converts 36% of those. And then if we go deeper again, 7 touches inside the 5, converting at 42%. All in all, he converts a touchdown on 5% of total rushes, which ranks him as one of the top running backs in the league. The Jets defend the run fairly well, and they have kept a lot of players at bay, but they have also allowed an average of 1 rushing touchdown per game. That included 2 touchdowns for Stevenson last week. I expect the Texans to actually win this game, like I said in the breakdown for the one before. That should increase the opportunities for Mixon to run the ball. Even if they aren't leading from the beginning throughout, I still think Mixon's going to have a hefty workload in this game. He's actually been my go-to guy in fantasy. I've added him in almost every touchdown parlay that I've got. I'm going to be putting my trust in him again this week, and I'm actually going to back him to help the Texans get the victory with a touchdown in this matchup. So we're going to go 1 unit, Joe Mixon, anytime touchdown scorer at 1.9 odds. So I said at the beginning of this episode, when I was doing my breakdown for the Packers game, I'm going to share a little bit of I would call it a lean, but I've actually locked this in. So I'm going to share what the play is, and I'll do my breakdown on the Friday episode like I normally do. So it's actually going to be the Lions -3, and you can get that at -110 if you're on American odds, or 1.90 if you're on European odds. The Lions -3. I expect this line to shift around a bit. It was -4 when Jordan Love was questionable with his groin. It moved to -3 when they said he was day-to-day, but in my opinion, I think he sits. It's a big game for the Packers. It's a big game for the Lions, but I don't think rushing him back with a groin injury. Groin injuries aren't anything to be rushed along. I think he might sit, and even if he does start the game, I don't think he plays the full game. I think we will see Malik Willis at some point in this game. So the line will, if obviously Jordan Love is out, the line will move back up to -4, maybe 5, maybe even -6. So lock in -3 for the Lions. As soon as you hear this, I'm going to say that is my play for one of my plays for next week for Sunday anyway. So lock it in early so it doesn't move. I'm going to post it in the Discord as well. So if you're not in the Discord, get in the Discord. And we'll leave it there for this week. Well, for this episode. And again, appreciate everyone for listening to the end. It may pay off. It may be a bit beneficial if you did leave it to the end with that Packers play there, but not the Packers, the Lions play against the Packers. Appreciate everyone for joining. Appreciate everyone for listening. Appreciate everyone for making it this far. It would be absolutely awesome, and it would be a huge benefit for me if everyone could subscribe, turn notifications on, follow me on all socials. My Linktree link is in the description below. Click that, you've got access to my Twitter, TikTok, Discord. I've got Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, literally everything and everywhere you can find me on is there. So go over. It would mean a crazy amount, a huge amount if you could subscribe, turn notifications on every single one of those. And as always, I'll be back on Friday for NFL Week 9, Sunday and Monday Night Football plays. So again, I'm gonna leave it there, and we'll see you on Friday. Catch you later.